So they all end up running away really, really fast. And they find a little boat and they jump into this little boat and they're rowing out to safety. And the fox turns around to the little frog and goes, "Who's got the diamonds?"
Never gets old. Never
gets old.
It's a cracker.
I've actually got a little. There you go.
There we go.
There we go.
Makes that investment all worth it.
Worth every penny.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the digital download. I'm just going to turn my phone over so it doesn't distract me. Today we're going to talk about branding and the branding of people, the branding of companies. What's the difference? What's the impact going on out there? And as always, we're really interested in your views. Please put them in the chat. We're also interested in you saying hello, where you're from. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear it if you disagree with us, because part of this is about having a debate and this all learning, and there's nothing wrong with having people out there with different views. So we're interested in hearing what you've got to say. Really, anything that you've got to add to it. Thanks, Beth. I'm now going to talk and put your details up at the same time, which, as you know, for men is very difficult to do two things at the same time. Thanks for that, Beth. So one of the things I wanted to do before we get in is that I dropped on Adam in the week that we were going to do this, and therefore I asked him to describe what is a brand. And if you disagree with him, please comment, whatever. But Adam, what do you see as what a brand is?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that the word brand conjures up an image for everybody, and it's that kind of abstract thing. We kind of all know what it is. You know, I know what a brand is, but trying to articulate that. So I found a couple of fantastic descriptions of brand. So one of them, branding is the process of creating a distinct identity for a business in the mind of your target audience and customers. At the most basic level, branding is made up of a company's logo, visual design, mission, and tone of voice. Perhaps a slicker version and simpler version is from Jeff Bezos, who obviously knows a little bit about branding. And he said, brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. And let's be honest, he knows. But as a kind of, and I was looking for some examples of good branding, or when branding works and when branding doesn't work. And I think increasingly we fail to see the differentiation between brand in our own mind and brand in the minds of our customers. So I went on to the internet and I looked at the website of the 4 big high street banks. And obviously, banking is a regulated industry, and there are limitations about what they can say and what they can do in terms of how they communicate stuff. And I know all of that. But they have all 4 of the big high street banks, all of whom are global, all of whom are hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars or pounds, which is the same thing now, dollars or pounds of value and equity in those organizations. I genuinely believe they've given up on the idea of branding. So on all of them, they all led with their products and services. None of them had an about us section. None of us said, here's what we stand for. They all just said, what do you want? Investments or a current account? Do you want a credit card? Do you want it? It was all product led. And as I sort of stood back from that interaction, or lack of interaction perhaps, with banks, I thought, actually, you see that everywhere you look. You see that every single place, or maybe I do. Maybe that's just because I've become very cynical with this. You know, I'm an Apple fanboy, but actually, what is the Apple brand? You know, it's a lovely product. It feels beautiful. It feels nicer and looks nicer than the competitors' products. But actually, what is the brand about? Because the brand can't be, we make better products than someone else. So what is so to answer your question, I've no idea what brand is. And I've no idea what brand is, because it seems that when you look out there, all of the companies that have got big through having a strong, powerful brand that their customers absolutely understand and feel an affinity with have abdicated that now because it's too hard.
And I want to come back to you about it, about that, but I'm not going to. And I know that Rob and Lenwood and Eric are kind of like jumping at the bait and going to respond to that. But Eric, putting the other side of the you know, what is a brand in terms of people? Well, a people brand.
Thank you for that, Tim. That's an interesting segue. That's really good. Let me flick to page 4 of my notes to see what we've I'm only joking. Before I say that, I think it's really interesting in the B2C world how brand is so important. I want to say that off. I've got brands that I put my money on those brands. I think that's absolutely important. I like Nike shoes. I'll always go and buy a pair of Nike shoes. I think it's interesting that we hoover our carpets with a Dyson. It's really interesting to me throughout history how brands have become the activity. So the activity of hoovering is now, like, the brand Hoover is now the definition of the activity. It's the doing word.
Do you remember when the famous mistake that the marketing executive at Cadillac said when he was looking for a new strapline, and he suggested Cadillac, the Rolls-Royce of automobiles?
That is fabulous. But actually, I put a post out about this about a year ago about how it's funny that we hoover our house with a Dyson, and loads of people come back with many more where the brands become the activity. And I think that's really interesting when it becomes that ingrained, because actually now, who owns a Hoover? A Hoover brand? It's almost, is it still even around?
I think it is still around, but it's probably waning a bit.
Yeah, probably.
We don't call it hoovering here, by the way.
You don't call it hoovering?
We call it vacuuming.
Vacuuming, yeah, exactly.
Which made me wonder, was vacuum a brand?
No, I think it was probably the suction thing. But people tell me they have spotted my vans, Google suggested, but they're, yeah, totally. From Peter. So yeah, the whole thing about brand and people. So we're dealing a lot with organizations and meet a lot of very interesting people in cross industries and all of that. And there was just a little thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, which kind of summarized all of this. A company that weren't particularly digital or social savvy, and in speaking to them, Hoover is owned now by Candy. Interesting, very interesting. And speaking to them, they were like, it was a really nice cross representation of the leadership team in the room, but the marketing person said, so I said, can you tell me a bit about what you do in digital in terms of, you know, putting your company out there and how you try and build influence? Oh yeah, absolutely. We're very proud of the fact that we've now reached 3,000 followers on our company page. I said, that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. We've put all our effort this year into our company page and we've now got 3,000 followers. I said, congratulations. Is that from a standing start? Pretty much, yeah. We're only in the teens now. We're at 3,000. So the question was then, so that's terrific. And the leadership team were all nodding like, we've been told that's really good, so that's really good. That's really good. So then, of course, not in any way to sound horrible in any way, but so going from 13, 14 to 3,000, what difference has that made to your bottom line? What difference has that made to your positioning in your sector? What do you mean? Well, it had to mean something, right? So everyone then, it was funny because everyone was going, yeah, we're really chuffed. We actually put out a post on our company page about thank you for 3,000 followers. It's fantastic. And everybody was like, yeah, it's superb. All the work that's gone into that. They got a special company in to design them special stuff and all of that. And now all their materials going out through their company page. So terrific. Great job. So what does it now mean? What is the impact to your business? Are people clamoring the door down to be recruited by you? Are people clamoring to the door with investment? Are people clamoring to the door with purchase orders? What does it do? Well, and then you get that sort of little gentle punch in the solar plexus. Well, it's just really good for visibility. So I said, well, I did an interesting exercise. There are a couple of hundred of you guys in this organization. So I went on to LinkedIn. I clicked on your company page. I clicked on employees, and I just did a quick summary of the first 10 people Now, there's no trickery in this. There's no look into the eyes, not around the eyes. The first 10 people have got 26,000 followers. But you never produce any content. None of the 10 that have 26,000 followers. One of you guys is a bit of a potential superstar. You've got, like 6,000 followers, but the last time they produced any content was a year ago. Yeah, but we're doing it all through the company page now, Eric. You don't understand. Right. Okay. So a potential reach of 26,000 people without any strategy on how to grow networks and all of that is a great position. Would you say 26,000 in terms of an audience is a little bit better than 3,000? Yeah. So what are we doing with that? How do you mean? So the 10 people that I listed it, a very experienced 25-year service cross-industry HR person, fabulous, went to a brilliant university, has got qualifications all over the place and has got a long, rich history, technical, engineering, sales, marketing, leadership, general management, operations. Those 10 people are right across the entire swathe of, if you imagine taking those 10 people and saying, right, who would be the ideal audience for those people within a target account, a big company with 30,000 employees or something like that. So the HR person going to all of HR and talent and recruitment and learning and development, and operations going into operation engineering and technical and all of that. Yeah, but we do it all through the company page is what our focus is.
How do you mean?
Does the company page, and this is I think this is in no way meant to ridicule anyone. This is I think where the stumbling block is, that the company page you've just said is static. It's good for visibility, but it's doing nothing more. Right? We could get it doing more, and we should have a great company page. 100%. It should be a parallel add-on to what you're doing. But the price here is creating that technical and commercial influence, which unfortunately your company page can't do because it's static. If I drop a like or a comment onto, I'm just trying to think of a big company in my sector, wood, because I'm pretty much energy focused, right? So if I drop a like or a comment on the company page post, I wonder if the person that's running that, because it's usually marketing teams that run the company pages, right, is running towards the boardroom with a printout to kick the door open and stop the board meeting to say, Eric Doyle just dropped a like and a comment on our company page post. Stop the clocks. Everything's changed. It's not happening, right? So there's not usually a great deal of dialogue or influence being built. It's a good part of the overall program. The influence and the conversation and that digital proof and the ability to connect with real live people and have conversations that could better the position of your business. There are potentially 26,000 of them waiting with just 10 of your team, and there's 400 of you. And it was like, yeah, but we've still got a bit of work to do on our company page, clearly. It's like the power and the breadth of competence and charisma and personality and the ability to jive well and connect with people is within the team. It's everybody. Look out of the room that you're in right now and look at those glass walls and look at all those heads. That's where it's all at. And this actually, when I started thinking about this topic of people becoming bigger than the brand, I've worked in engineering for years. And I never realized it back in the day, but in the B2B space, B2C, I totally get it. I've got brands and I'm a brand champion for specific brands. Adam's an Apple fanboy. But we used to hire engineers and they would bring work with them. So like very talented process, chemical or structural engineers, they would move to another engineering house, but they would bring all the clients with them because the client didn't care what brand they were under or what logo they sat under. They wanted them. It was their competence, their specialism, their expertise and their knowledge. And they couldn't give a hoot where the purchase order was going. It was about them, not who they worked for. And that sums up the biggest difference, that brand focus and championing against actually the person. Actually, I came across it 20 years ago, but I never realized the power in it. And pulling that through to the digital world these days, all of your team are those champions. If we can just get it out and get it up.
But isn't the problem that the company looks at this and they say, Yeah, but they need to be our customers, not yours. So we want to make sure that we have ring fenced them in the company profiles, because you might leave and take them with you. I mean, what they don't see is that they're not going to engage with the company content. The company has never owned them. They've only ever been owned by the people.
And I think if I don't know about you, but if when I talk to people and I say, when I connect with you on LinkedIn, I'm connecting with you, not the company. If you move to another company, my connection goes with you. And it's no different from hiring salespeople. I'm going to use it. They have a little black book of contacts. They can ring up. Hey, Steve, I've now moved to another company. We do the same thing, but it's better.
Yeah. It's
You're
always
going to
been
buy from me now. Okay. Which is similar to the engineering example Eric pointed out.
Yeah, I would like to, I won't say push back on what Eric said, but to maybe elaborate. And I would say that that in the B2B space, it's not so much that the people are more important than the brand, but that in the B2B space, the people need to be a conduit for the brand.
Oh.
Okay. And so this idea actually is not, well, I wouldn't say that the idea is it's okay, let me clarify. Okay, so Denise Leon has this concept called fusion. And it's the fusion of brand and culture. And what she says is that in the B2B space, it's more important than in the B2C space, because in B2B, your people are much more engaged with customers than in the B2B space. Okay. And so when we think about the brand and the culture of the organization, those two things need to come together and be the same, basically be the same thing. So I if you don't mind, could I share something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just very quickly grabbed a few purpose statements from companies with brands that are fused with the company purpose.
Oh, no.
Those brands need to have their people. Can you not see that?
Yeah, we can. You've got Rob's internet connection this week.
So you can see the Squarespace?
Yes.
Yes.
Yellow. Okay, you can see it. Okay, because I can't see it on my end for whatever reason. Okay, so here we can't, Squarespace is a SaaS-based content management system, but their purpose is giving voice to ideas. And brand message to demonstrate is, around this purpose statement and communicated through their people and their attitudes and their behaviors. And we know that today that's demonstrated most. Oh, there we go. That's demonstrated most on social media. Zappos, which is everyone knows about Zappos selling shoes. They sell a whole bunch of other stuff. So I just called it an e-commerce retail company to deliver happiness to the world. That's their purpose statement. And so what she says is that these brands need to take these purpose statements, make them part of their culture, and have their people demonstrate that in their attitudes and behaviors. And so where I add on to what Denise is saying is, today you demonstrate those attitudes and behaviors on social media. And that becomes very, very powerful when you have a purpose-driven brand like these. And I wanted to add just one more, this company Haggerty, which is an automotive insurance company. Okay, that's pretty bland. right? Because I wanted to help companies of all types see that this is not just for tech companies or this is for everybody. Okay, so they're an automotive insurance company, very bland, to protect the physical connections to the best moments in life, right? So that is how I would, elaborate on this notion of brand, and then just add in this piece about culture. So fusing brand and culture so that the company is not just saying things, but doing things. They're living that brand day to day as they serve their customers. And then what they want to do, to Eric's point, is demonstrate that through social media on LinkedIn and Twitter. And what that does is attract people to them, but also to the brand.
So,
So
quick,
Len,
quick question: who's the biggest brand, Manchester United or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Well, when you compare them on, like for instance, just take them on Twitter with his Nike account. What is he now? He's nearly got what? He's nearly 100 million.
100 million followers.
100 million followers on Twitter. And Manchester United, I don't know what they have just now.
It's Instagram, I think, that he's got 100 million on.
I have to declare I have to declare an interest, which is I'm a Liverpool fan, so I will of course say Cristiano Ronaldo.
I don't know who any of them are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So go on, Rob.
Linwood, I just wanted to pick up, before you had done your research, what would you have guessed the brand for Zappos was, or Squarespace?
I don't know, because I haven't given much thought to those brands at all.
You're making my point.
Stick them up again, Lenwood.
I'm sorry, what?
Could you put them up again?
Sure. Of course, I dropped them, and so let me see if I can find them here.
So Squarespace, in my mind, was one of these Dropbox type things, and I could have been completely wrong about it. Or it was, I get it confused with Square, which is that little device you plug into your cell phone so you can swipe credit cards at the local farmer's market. Zappos, I know it's shoes. Okay, great. I'll have happy feet, but I never even would have picked up on.
They make very good lighters.
Absolutely.
But we're not saying for a second that those legally marketing defined $1 million strap lines that sound really good, we're not really saying that that's the brand, are we? Because the brand is.
But that's what the company is saying.
What I'm saying is that these are purpose statements for the brands, and these purpose statements help the employees in the organization to internalize a culture around that. And then what those people do is demonstrate the culture in their attitudes and behavior. So it's fusing the brand and the culture together.
Yusuf agrees with you.
People can demonstrate that purpose, demonstrate that purpose out in the world. And what she's saying is that is what is going to attract people to and that has some meaning to it.
Reversed.
Earlier on, when we were talking about the controversial headline that your people are stronger than the brand, that was meant in terms of if you're using a logo, a website, and a strapline alone, it's pointless, right? Because you're just competing with everybody else who's got a website, a logo, and a strapline. If you're enabling your people to build influence on digital with that strapline and all of the ethos and values and credibility that goes behind it, you then become a superpower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because your people are living it. What?
There's more to it than that, though, isn't there? Because this is about the intimacy of connection that you have with an organization. Does your wife work, Lenwood?
Yes.
Where does she work?
She works at Audible.
Okay, so do you love Audible?
I like it.
Yes. do you love your wife?
Yes.
And before Audible, where did she work? And before that,
CBS.
where did she work? Yeah. And you love your wife and you don't love CBS. And this is the point. You know, the point is that for every single person out there, there are people that love them. You know, their spouses, their family, their people they went to university with, their best friends, the people that they've built lifelong relationships with. And people don't feel that way about brands. You know, I love Apple, but if Apple went out of business tomorrow, I go, okay, well, I'm a Samsung man now. Because actually, you know, it's a tool. It's a means to an end.
Come to the Microsoft side.
No, but you know, there's, and this is fundamentally the case. You know, you have brands that you gravitate towards. So Tim and I are friends with a guy that is the managing director of the biggest BMW dealer in the world outside of Park Lane, outside of Munich, and we. You know, you would go out for dinner with him. You wouldn't go out for dinner with BMW. You'd phone him up and go, "Hello, mate." You wouldn't do that to your car. And somebody left a comment earlier about how they didn't know anybody at Coca-Cola. And no, you don't know anybody at Coca-Cola when you're going into a store and buying a can of pop. You don't know people at Coca-Cola in that interaction. If you are a sourcing director, head of procurement at Hilton Hotels, who's buying globally Coca-Cola to go into every single bar, every single restaurant that they have anywhere in the world, you can be pretty confident you do know somebody at Coca-Cola, the person that's closing that $500 million a year deal with you. And I think that this is the point, isn't it? As the deal becomes bigger and more complex, you're much more likely to know the name of the person that's selling it to you, and you're much more likely to want to have need to have a relationship built on trust with that person. You go and buy a chocolate bar, doesn't matter. If you take one bite and don't like it, you chuck it in the bin and move on. If you're buying a car, you know, you're dropping 50,000 on a new car. Wouldn't it be awful if it turned up and in fact you had the wrong coloured seats, or you hadn't specified air conditioning, or it didn't have sat nav, or whatever those crucial things to you were, because you haven't ticked the right boxes on the website. So even in the B2C space, the more complex, the more high value, the more strategic the purchase, the more likely you are to have a relationship with the person. And that's where brand of the individual becomes so crucial. You know, you're the trusted advisor. You're the person that I believe. You're the person that I listen to. Whether you're working for IBM or McKinsey or Accenture, it doesn't matter. You're the person that solves my problems. And I think,
once I place that order, you'll continue to be the person that solves my problems.
Absolutely.
Unlike the transactional, give me a can of Coke, you're not going to go back to the co-op that you bought it and say, this was slightly warm. Can you improve your refrigeration next time? Maybe you are. Maybe you're going to do that.
I think that's why, I know that's why Denise is saying what you've just described, the personal relationship that, you know, for B2B band, well, let's just call it complex sales and not distinguish what market. For complex sales, that personal relationship that you have, companies, let's say, I won't say brands, but organizations, they need to use that. They need that. And so the way that they can help to achieve a connection through their people is by getting their people to agree on shared values, you know, and live those values, aligning the things, connecting them.
I do hear you, but further to Tim's initial kind of throw the hand grenade and run away post, which was, are people more important than brand? Yeah, people are. Absolutely, they are. You know, I was chatting to somebody that worked at one of the big CRM vendors, And in this conversation, which was not a sales pitch from me to them, it was a chat, I said, let's be honest, it doesn't matter whether or not I buy Sugar or Salesforce or Oracle or Dynamics or Nimble. Doesn't matter. None of this makes a difference. And moving somebody from one to the other will make no difference on the effectiveness of their forecasting. What you need to do is get people to use it. And the person that I was talking to said, yep, absolutely. That is the truth of the matter. And the reality is that we live in a society where there are so many homogenized, fit-for-purpose products. We have in this country, I don't know whether you have it in the US, we have the JD Power Survey. Every year it looks at the most reliable vehicles. 20 years ago, it said the conclusion of the survey this year is that there's no such thing as a bad car. So you can buy a Rolls Royce, you can buy whatever the lowest end is, a Kia, say, for argument's sake.
How dare you? I don't have a Kia.
No, but whatever the lowest and whatever the highest car is.
Dropped off the call.
And the expectation is that you've not driven it for 2 weeks. There's 3 feet of snow outside. It's 20 below zero. You go out and the car starts first time. Every car does that now. So actually, the rest of it is window dressing. Why are you going to buy this product, particularly not a car, but a transformational CRM system or an ERP system or a facilities management system or a contract that's going to last 10 years or hire somebody? Absolutely, because of the person.
Peter Stewart made a comment earlier. The emphasis used to be on me. Now it's on the business name. Maybe challenge that a little bit. That if people love you, Peter, it's still you they're buying. If they love John, your colleague, or Tanya, your colleague, it's them that they're buying. I don't know how many times I used to buy products and services.
Well, it was interesting because I saw Peter say this. And the fact of that matter is that people were telling Peter, I saw your van.
Saw your van, absolutely. Google
I saw
suggested
you.
Yeah, 100%. But I remember when I was spending a lot of money per year for companies buying products and services, and that little change in dynamic of Sarah leaving, and now you're dealing with Joanne, and Joanne can't get her as quickly as we used to get Sarah for support, doesn't answer emails, doesn't come and see us twice a month the way Sarah used to. Still the same stuff, still the same product and service, but the relationship's starting to go. Just from changing a person. So I'm starting to go off the brand a little bit because Joanne and Sarah, both represent that brand.
Because you recently changed your car, didn't you? And you changed brand. And you
changed supplier, yeah.
Yeah, you changed because you went from a Ford to a
Nissan, but actually that was irrelevant because it was I used to deal with, for the last 6, 7, 8 years, I was dealing with the largest provider of automobiles in Scotland, and the service. I still loved the product. They happened to have a Ford division, and I drove a Ford truck, and I had 2 of them, and I don't know why I went back and got the second one, because the service happened to be appalling, absolutely appalling, and it got more and more and more appalling. I still loved the product, but it became to the point where Sarah said, if we're going to replace the truck, because we need a truck, we are not going back there. We're not taking another 3-year lease out with those people because we simply can't have it. So I went to a family business that could give me the same thing. And I have to say, the reason I put out a piece of content, I wasn't looking for anything. I never got any preferential treatment or a discount or anything like that, but because the service is astonishing. Not just in comparison to rubbish. Astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. And I'm kicking myself that I didn't actually do this years ago, but I've still got kind of the same product, kind of the same thing, but I've taken my dollars, pounds, euros, whatever it is, and I've put it over here because of people. Because of people.
Yeah, and that, I have a very similar story, and I would just press through that a little bit, that those people at that family-owned business have a set of values, and they're living those values in how they're serving you. So with the big corporate organization that you juxtapose that family business against, what they're not doing is embodying some values and having that flow through into the way they're treating their customers. That's why you left.
Yeah.
Can you though?
Yes,
I mean,
I just said the family-owned business is doing it.
Yeah, it's the family-owned business. It's no surprise that they have a common set of values. As you get to a larger organization, you can't necessarily hire people whose values are exactly what yours are, because most people, while they have values, haven't taken the time to identify or define them. And as you're going from hundreds of employees to thousands of employees to tens of thousands of employees, sometimes you have to settle for maybe somebody whose values aren't 100% aligned with what we have.
Welcome to day one on your induction to Giant Corp. Here are your new values.
Yeah.
We'll be tattooing them on your arm after lunch.
I disagree. I think you can do it. I don't think it's something that happens overnight, but I think you can, and I think there are organizations that are out there doing it.
And what happens when you have somebody in your employee whose values are different from yours?
You got to get rid of them, because you can't have your culture be destroyed. If you have said what we want in our organization is empathy in our leadership team, and we want our leaders to demonstrate empathy. And that's an important cultural value that's coming down from the CEO. Everybody who reports to him is doing it, and everybody who reports to them is doing it. We believe in that. When you have someone who comes into the organization and they start to lead in a way that's non-empathetic, they're out.
Yes, I think that's
a change.
After they've been coached.
That's a big change.
That's true up until a point. But if you think about your business, Lenwood, nobody that you hire ever is going to have your degree of love and passion for your business, because it's your business and you founded it, and it's not their business and they didn't found it. And that's why Eric's family business, where he now buys his vehicles, is absolutely the best example of that. They employ people from the family, the people that have a vested interest in that doing well, people that share a passion and a vision and a set of values. And Big Corp don't have that. They hire people that are more or less aligned to them. Often people will hire people because they haven't got much choice. If you've got 1,000 people applying for a job, that's one thing. If you've got one person, it's something entirely different. And often people during the interview process will tell you what they think they want you to hear. These are our values. What are your values? Oh, ironically, my values are identical to yours. And they transpire not to be so. But the people in the family business, they will own that. Whether that's a shareholding or a vision or a love, they own that thing. And that's why they're going above and beyond the call of duty. If you phone Eric at 10 o'clock at night and he's not having a candlelit dinner with his wife, he'll answer the phone, because it's his business and therefore his life. And we all operate in that space, don't we?
Yeah, well, I'll respectfully disagree that large organizations can't do it, because something like empathy, let's say that's going to be our value. That's not about the products that I'm selling. That's about how we view people. And that's universal. Doesn't matter what product I'm selling.
But going back to the example that Eric gave, where we had Sarah coming in twice a week and checking in with us, and Sarah left and Amy came in behind her, and she doesn't visit as often and she doesn't check in as often. Is she unempathetic? No, she believes in empathy. She's just executing differently. And,
so maybe she needs to be coached about how we demonstrate that to our customers.
Sure, but then
beatings will continue until morale improves.
But the fact that I guess the point was, yes, of course she needs to be coached, and there needs to be feedback and it needs to be checked. But the fact is that potentially, so looking at myself as the client, I'm now becoming disenfranchised a little bit, and it's not as good as it was, and blah blah blah. So that little change in dynamic is now representative of what this product and brand means to me, because it's now getting a bit crap. Play that out across billions and billions of dollars and and hundreds of industries, and it starts to escalate out of control. Anyone new to my business are taught two things: they are paying for a professional service and a solution to the problem, and not paying for time. Wow. Very good. Very good. The bigger the companies, the bigger the values become more diluted to misinterpretation. How the values are communicated down.
Cascaded.
Don't you love? I think it's really interesting, and I've seen it many times. The one word value statements: people, integrity, honesty.
Banana.
I think I think that was Enron's, wasn't it? People, integrity, honesty.
Yeah, well, I think what you're describing is what you don't want to have in an organization. I think what you're describing is the undesirable. This is what we say we are. What we do is something completely different. And what Denise is saying, what I am saying is that needs to change. It needs to be, this is what we say we are, and what we do matches up with that.
The problem, though, is that, like when I went onto the banking websites, they have become uniformly meh. You know, they don't stand for anything, and the reason they don't stand for anything is because they're terrified of alienating a particular portion of their target market. Now, the problem with having a centralized brand vision that is communicated out through every single person is that that brand vision has to be one that engages the people, and everybody's different. So if you think about us, you know, people can have a conversation with me and say, don't like you, I don't want to work with you. Have a conversation with Eric and say, don't like you, I don't want to work with you. Have a conversation with you, Leonard, and go, I love you, I really want to work with you. Selling the same product, the same business, to trying to sell it to the same customer. And what they've done is they've said, you are somebody with whom I feel an empathy and an alignment in our view of the world. You're somebody that I trust. You're somebody that can guide me through this morass of problems that I'm going to have in implementing this change within my business. And I believe you, and I don't believe Eric or Adam. And that's the beauty of the personal brand. You know, I say this often when I talk to people. A lot of people who like the guitar buy from me because that's something we have in common. Mm-hmm. And it might seem like a flippant comment to make, but it could be a passion for motorsport or horse racing or travel or fine dining or whatever, which is the starting point to build the relationship. And if, as who was it that said, Martin, I think, said, you might as well hire a robot. Yeah, you might as well hire a robot. If you're trying to cookie cutter people within the organization, what you end up with is like a corporate version of the Stepford Wives, don't you?
No one is saying cookie cutter. You're talking about personal brand. You're talking about relatability and whether someone can connect with me. I'm not saying that's not important at all.
Great debate. Excellent.
Yeah.
Can I just pick up on something that Jeff Mountain said? Can you go back to the first page of the comments where he says a full foul of Candy's lawyers over a trademark application? Can you put
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to put that up. But
yeah,
Prover, that was, wasn't it?
So Jeff is the head of Ocean Marine Group, and they've got a company, Underwater Contractors, who do a lot of work in fish farms. And this invention they came up with is really interesting. It's a suction device to clear away debris and dead fish from the nets around fish farms, which is a big problem. I didn't know it was a big problem, but
now you do.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely do. So they called it, because it's fish related and fish farm related, they called it the Foover and went to trademark it, and that's how he knows. So how would anyone know that Hoover is owned by Candy? That's why. And they still got the Foover, so well done.
So they did actually get to name it Foover, did they?
I think, yeah, they're still out there.
Really?
Well, only if Jeff wants people to know that they're out there using it. Yes, maybe, potentially, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So a good question. building on everything that Lenwood's discussed, all the brand, the culture, the way that people operate and carry that brand, the values out there, and everything else we've discussed. What is the future of branding in the B2B world? What is the future? So we're in a position now. Lenwood's spoken about the need for change and the need for the examples.
And people are a conduit for your brand is one of the things that Lenwood said.
People are a conduit for your brand, absolutely. So we're all in this space. What happens in 5-10 years' time? Where is this going?
Aren't we already almost there? So Lenwood put up his sheet. Don't put it up again. Who are Squarespace?
Well, I know because I've got a Squarespace website.
Who are Squarespace?
No,
Ask again. You can answer that. Who are Squarespace?
They're creating space from Square.
Yeah. You see,
they're like GoDaddy.
And so who are GoDaddy?
They do websites.
Yeah, and who are Apple?
They make phones.
Yeah,
and laptops.
Who are BMW?
Make cars.
Yeah. Okay, so none of you told me who they are. You told me what they do.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental problem, is that these two things are in the consumer's mind so Siamese. You know, that they are absolutely, people are incapable of divorce.
I love it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. That's the mic drop.
That's the high point of the day. But the point is that these things are so interlinked in the consumer's mind, and the consumer, not only do they not know what your values are, I would debate whether they care what your values are. You know, they're buying a product, a service, a solution, the cure to a particular issue or problem in their business. You know, and you said, Eric, about, you know, you're buying something, and Rob's idea, you know, Alice comes in and she takes over. She doesn't come quite as often to visit you, and you think, it's not as good as it used to be. And that's the point when another company can get a toehold in there, because you think, I'm going to try a different company because actually I'm not as happy now as I was with this company. And actually, if your values were aligned, you'd absolutely align with that company. But none of us know what the values of these companies are. None of them know what their brand in the truest sense is. But we do know what all of our brands are as people, and many of the people that we interact with. This has turned it from a series.
So how are you going to get a B2B organization, a large B2B organization, to buy into your product, which is about getting people to demonstrate themselves authentically online, if you cannot connect that activity to what their brand does, or in any way?
Because you're not, in most cases, I don't think you're buying. So what you're buying is the concept, A, that the person is competent and expert in their field as an individual. Because, you know, I worked at Oracle. Customers had relationships with me. They didn't have relationships with Oracle. They had relationships with me because I was the person they spoke to. They didn't speak to the company. They spoke to me or one of my colleagues in the company. So I think that people are buying the belief that I know what I'm talking about. They're buying the belief that I can help them solve the problem. And they're also buying the belief that they can solve the problem and make the pain go away with my help. And I think that's true, not just of me, of every one of us and everyone out there. And I think that the company is an abstract holding pen for a group of people. You know, so I want to deal with you because you're my financial services expert, and currently you're working at this consultancy, and then you move to that consultancy. My loyalty moves with you. Absolutely right. What you're buying is the result.
Lenwood, it sounds to me like your premise is that a company's brand should be promoted through the conduit of its employees.
That is actually not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you take a corporate brand and you just pass it through your employees. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. I contend that it's actually just the opposite of that anyway. It's an individual's brand how they choose to act, behave, and represent themselves to the world that is promoted through the conduit of the company they're working for, what I sell or what I do. But it starts with me, the individual, and what I believe. And I align myself with organizations that are similarly set up in terms of beliefs and acts and behaviors and norms.
Right. So if you wanted to go to, let's just say, the most racist segment of your society, you would just go ahead and hire a Klansman who would connect very well with those people, because you want to get your product into that market. So you hire that person, and they're going to be able to connect with those people. And now my product gets into that market. I don't really care that, it's connecting with a set of values that's totally, contrary to what we should really want in our society. But it's okay.
Well, your premise was ridiculous to start with. I mean, of course you don't care if you started with, what I want to do is reach the most racist audience.
But you want to get customers.
I want to get
customers, and you don't care. All you care about is selling your product. So you want to find people who connect with certain markets. We don't want to, prevent those people from getting your product.
I think there's a common ground between one extreme and the other, and ultimately, you want to hire people that resonate with certain markets. It may be that there are markets that you don't want to go into. Maybe the most racist segment of society is not a segment that you want to do business with. Maybe at the moment, with the global way things are, maybe you don't want to do business with a Russian company. Maybe you don't want to do business with a regime in another country that's anti-gay or has a particular religious ideology. And
aren't those values?
Yeah, they are. But fundamentally, you're not. What you're doing is you're recognizing that it's the individuals that are giving you access to those things. So whilst you wouldn't go to the racist portion of society, if that was your target market, you absolutely would do what you said, Lenwood, in order to get into that market. Right. And I think that's obviously the epitome of hideousness as concepts go, but it absolutely does prove the point, doesn't it?
I've just got this. I've now got an image in my.
That is happening.
I've got an image in my mind of a horrendous boardroom making that decision and having that conversation. How horrific is that? It's wow. Yeah, but good graphic point. Absolutely.
But it's happening. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I mean, it's happened in our politics here in the United States. So we understand that, there are people, to your point, a lot of people have different values, and we can do things to tap into those for our purposes.
So back to Eric's question. Where do we see the future of this game?
A lot of the talk is on product-led growth, which is the absolute opposite of brand. I don't know that I've bought into product-led growth myself, but I do understand where it's coming from. It's the solution that services the needs. There is no need for brand. I know.
I think product-led growth is not about branding. It's about using the product's technology to sell the brand. But it's a technological issue more than it is a branding issue. In other words, we can use technology to move this brand.
But they're not even moving the brand. They're moving the technology.
Or, I'm sorry,
and more of the technology.
To move this product. But by product-led growth, they're saying we can use technology to cause this product to move through the target audience.
Right.
And I mean that literally move through it using technology.
But this is just a sticking plaster that's put on stuff, isn't it? So Andrew's previous comment about Nike. So you probably all know this. You probably all read the book about how Nike got going. But when Nike started, they sold training shoes out of the back of one of the guys' cars. And they used to go to football matches or athletics matches, and then they would open the boot and they would sell trunk, and they would sell training shoes to the people that were there because they were better than the other things that were available at that time. And they wanted to build an intimate one-to-one relationship with every single one of their customers. And for a long time, that pervaded how they behaved as a company. And they would only ever run any advert once, would only be aired once. And the reason that they believed that is because they said, if I was going to write you, my friend Lenwood, a letter, I wouldn't write you the same letter again and again and again and again. I would write the same letter. I would write a letter. And then next time I wanted to speak to you or communicate with you, I'd write you a different letter. And that's how Nike ran all of their marketing. Now, obviously, things are very different. But that's often what happens, isn't it? Where there's the purity of the initial brand gets subverted by the business.
All the way through this, I've been abusing a brand which has been with me throughout my life. I've been abusing this because I have a very sore mouth ulcer. And this is a very effective brand at easing mouth ulcers. But I don't think you're supposed to have a whole tube during an hour's live.
Like an astronaut.
I thought it was blue.
Food in a...
Excellent.
Well, you always said you wanted these just to be like our team meetings.
What's that?
These hours are just like an insight into our team meetings that we have on Mondays. So you got it today.
And I think it's for me it's a great debate. One of the things that I love about the digital download is that everybody just has a different view. And I was explaining earlier on a conversation about how the whole point of this is that people come with different views. The audience will have a different view as well, but we respect that. And even though we may not agree with each other, we voice the views and we understand that people do have different opinions.
Because not everybody agrees about everything.
Exactly, but in the round, what that does, I think that's far better. And having people saying, "Well, I think it's this," "Well, I don't agree, I think it's this," I think that's far better in terms of the having this sort of far side chat and having a discussion rather than all jumping in saying I agree and just
great point
each other on the back.
Sorry, Tim. That's such a good point.
Yeah,
I lost
really,
my place. Where's my script?
Really good point. Really cool.
And I think and once again we've had a fantastic debate here with the audience, and the audience discussing amongst themselves as well, which is great to see. Now I'm not going to be able to talk about stuff for 3 minutes. So has anyone got a joke or we get Lenwood to laugh? Quite often, Lenwood, give us a laugh.
No, just laugh. Oh, there's a bright. It seems to be like a distraction on your camera coming from that shoulder. There's like a bright yellow light. What?
Are you talking to me?
No, Tim.
Oh.
Down on your desk behind you, there seems to be like a bright yellow light. No, down. Put your camera down a bit. Oh, you can't, can you? Because you've got an Apple user. What's that? What is that? It's like a deep yellow glow. Is it from your new book, for instance, Tim?
No.
Has Tim written a new book, Eric?
I believe so. I'm not sure. He doesn't talk about it much.
I never mention it.
You don't? I know you don't. I think we're done for today, are we?
Yeah, I think we're done, yeah. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for all the debate. And thanks for everybody joining. And I love the jokes that came in from the audience as well. You don't see that? What? Jeff started it.
Jeff, yeah. Was it all about his strapline?
It was about his strapline, and then there was about getting other forming partnerships with other companies that had different straplines.
Oh yeah, Mr. Cowerson and all of that. Yeah, brilliant. Right.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a good.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.